Good morning to all of you. Mr. Dilip Shenoy, Mr. Philip Bullock, members of the Australian delegation, my fellow panelists, members of the, I can say, the Indian delegation and the Indian providers who are here, ladies and gentlemen. The tone for today's conference has already been set by the speakers of the first session, particularly about the priorities that India has set for herself and the next step that we would like India and Australia to take for development of vocational education and skills. I would give a small overview of the relations that have developed between India and Australia in the last 5 years, and then go on to the specifics that we are looking for in these relations. As some of us present here may recall, that till 2008, our focus was mainly on the Western countries or on our immediate neighbors. In 2009, there were certain issues relating to student welfare. I need not go into those issues. They were well handled by both the governments and also the provincial government of Victoria and other states. But it brought into focus that more than 50,000 Indian students are going to Australia. And within those 50,000, most of them are going for skill building. While some of them may have gone for reasons other than education, but definitely a large proportion of them were there because opportunities were not available in India. That set us thinking in the ministry that we should develop educational relations not limited to the issues of student welfare, but to development of the Indian system, particularly in the area of skill development. The next step, of course, was the involvement of the industry. Till 2011, the agreement that we had was between the two governments, but the then Minister, Mr. Kapil Sibal, I would like to acknowledge him here, he mentioned that we should have greater involvement of industry, and that is how the Australia-India Education Council, it was the first council to be established where there was close partnership with the industry. In 2011, the Australia-India Council came into existence where the role of the government is more of a facilitator. That is how we perceive our role. We are there to facilitate, but the cooperation has to be between institutions and, more importantly, institutions supported by the industry. Otherwise, the outcomes, as you heard in the first session, there is a problem of employability. The graduates who come out of our institutions of higher learning or from our skill development institutions, they are not industry ready, they have to be retrained. Therefore, there was a clear focus on industry involvement. There was also an added element that for a change, this is a partnership which is being jointly funded by both the governments, but not driven by the government, but by the council which has participation of industry bodies, of the academics. The result we have already noticed in the morning. 2 meetings of the council, and particularly the skill initiative has taken off well, which has been acknowledged by the minister in the morning. Now, some of the initiatives which took place during the discussion between the two sides, they are bearing fruit. As we heard, first and perhaps the primary focus will be on having more capacity building for trainers. The figures that have been circulated in the background note, about 500 million youth to be trained. Certainly infrastructure can be developed, but where is the faculty? Where are those master trainers? This is a critical area which Minister has already highlighted for us. And I think this is one area where we have a central institution by the name of Pandit Sundarlal Institute for Vocational Education Training at Bhopal, which we are planning to develop into a center of excellence. It may also have branches in different regions so that we can develop the faculty. The second critical part is about the qualifications and the global mobility of the students. The workforce which is being trained need not be only for India. As our leader from co-chair from the Australian side rightly mentioned, we may be having the workforce for some other countries. It is possible that the mining industry of Australia may be investing in the African continent. The workforce may be coming from India. So the question arises that the workforce should have global competencies and also global certification. So far, from the government side, we have been having arrangements for mutual recognition of degrees. But now we are talking of mutual recognition of competencies on the vocational side. It was easier to have that, okay, our degree of Bachelor of Technology will be recognized by other countries, their degrees will be recognized here, but now we are talking of competencies. It is a slightly difficult job, but we have to move in that direction. Third, perhaps, and that is the lessons that we have learned over the last few years. In the Indian system, we had been concentrating more on the inputs. We have been measuring by the hours spent or the total number of years spent in the colleges rather than on the outcomes. But if we are talking of competencies and preparing a workforce which is workforce-ready student population, then we have to talk about learning outcomes. So the challenge for us will be to define competencies in terms of outcomes and not in terms of inputs. The fourth, and that was discussed in the joint working group, but I would like to mention it here for the benefit of our friends, that there is a large informal sector in our country. Some of them, they have some prior learning through their elders or through their family, some do not have. But this important informal sector also needs to be trained, certified, and somehow brought into the formal side. The National Institute of Open Schooling of India is working with this informal sector, particularly the school dropouts who are joining the workforce, and their number is in millions. That would be another critical area for collaboration, which has been highlighted by the Minister. At the higher education sector also, we have started with 200 community colleges. Their numbers are bound to increase because we are looking for employability of graduates. Community colleges will be another area of engagement. So now we would be looking for specific collaboration between the sector skill councils. I acknowledge that they have developed very well, but now we have to take them further, particularly one, for faculty development and capacity building, two, development of networks for mutual recognition of competencies, three, the certification. Right now, what we have through NIOS and other institutions, that certification needs to be strengthened. And the last, given the large numbers that we have in our country, and also the geographical spread, we have decided, the ministry has decided that use of technology, particularly ICT, should be encouraged in the education sector. We already have a $1 billion project known as National Mission of Education through ICT. And a critical component of that mission is to have direct-to-home channels where various engineering and social sciences and sciences, those programs could be beamed to the students. And during discussions, and today morning also the minister said that direct-to-home channel will be another area which will supplement. We recognize that teachers, there is no substitute for good teachers for capacity building, but the direct-to-home, this technology will be a great enhancer in order to reach the numbers. These are some of the areas which we are looking for, and I think during discussions we'll take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.